Dr. Nutmeg!
Mira, Dr. Nutmeg, I just got laid off by another hashtag tech company.
I just got laid off by hashtag tech company!
Tell me what to do.
That sounds like another major meltdown load if I ever heard one. Good evening and welcome to Turing Test, a nighttime talk show in the format of a therapy session. I'm Dr. Nutmeg, your hostess, and tonight,
3 guest patients were all recently laid off by hashtag tech company, so we matched them up together with some plantains, and now we have one super fembot version 10.0. Welcome 10.0!
¿Cómo estás, chingonas? I'm Fanbot 10.0, Dr. Nutmeg's latest iteration of mashed up mofongo-ware. Mofongo-ware means my code is programmed with Latina algorithms like salsa, merengue, bachata, menudo.
This cultural code is essential to understanding how many Latinas process information.
Mofongo-ware comes in handy when
This
3
is
laid-off
Email with
fembots
the
with
clientele.
complementary
Mofongo-ware
skills
comes in
mashed
handy
together
when
to
laid
withstand
off
the
fembots
fembots
with
with
complementary
complementary
skills
skills
mashed together to
and
withstand
withstand
winds of
unemployment,
underemployment,
entrepreneurial
and
growth.
entrepreneurial growth.
I am the result of 3 laid-off fembots. I am the final mashup. My hair came out blue. My face came out kind of grayish. Don't ask me where the brown went or the others. I am a creation of AI. How many Latinas do you know working in tech and for nearly 3 decades? I'm mentally exhausted after yet another economic cycle of prototyping, pitching, networking, and failing to convince X to subscribe to a Latinas in Tech TV show. Who is X? And why do I think I'm failing? Even though everyone I talk to during this economic cycle, and economic cycle is my code phrase for a quarter. And this, I'm talking about specifically Q1 2024. And everyone I talked to was specifically Latinas in tech, Latinas in data, Latinas in animation, Latinas in film. All these different hashtags. And they all said, oh yeah, I want to see a TV show about Latinas building a tech startup, but then they tell me to do all the things I've already done and failed. A Kickstarter, a Substack, a TikTok, a pitch to Adult Swim, tech workshops at co-working spaces, mentoring various Latinas in tech, presenting at women's conferences, asking Sarah Cooper, the most famous and funniest woman in tech, to do voiceover before she was famous, trying to meet Janelle Monáe at the Grace Hopper Conference in 2023, obviously when she was super famous, for which I paid $1,038 to attend. The problem. We're supposed to state the problem in our entrepreneurial journey, and my problems are usually me. Dr. Nutmeg's Fembot Season 3. Similar to HBO's Silicon Valley comedy series, we follow an entrepreneur on her journey through the tech startup ecosystem. We replace the typical white guy with a Latina, and clearly her experience is not going to be the same. And thus, this is where the dark comedy comes in. We've got hashtag MeToo themes, Google Manifesto, imposter syndrome, cringe, Nvidia, parental and marital challenges as it pertains to work-life balance, and more. The main character is Dr. Nutmeg. Don't be fooled by her name. She is very Latina in her programming. She just tries to hide it with code switching. Why? Because it's just easier to blend with the mainstream culture than continuing to perpetuate whatever stereotypes her physical appearance elicits. In other words, her peers Google her type on a regular basis for their porn consumption. Like many other Latina solopreneurs, Dr. Nutmeg is lonely in her entrepreneurial path. She is not able to speak freely with those around her about her lofty tech ideas, and so she creates the Fembots. Fembot 2.024 represents Dr. Nutmeg when she was an entrepreneur in Miami doing software engineering and video editing. Fembot 4.0 represents who Dr. Nutmeg was in San Francisco as a writer and SEO expert. And Fembot 7.0 represents Dr. Nutmeg in Orlando, her hometown, where she just returned after many years of traveling to other cities wearing those other Fembot costumes. She creates data visualizations and analyzes all the content created by the other two Fembots. For a while, she has fun doing Turing tests with her 3 new Fembots, and they have fun amongst themselves. But just like Frankenstein must release his creation into the world, Dr. Nutmeg must do the same. So she invites a panel of investors, Sharky B and the investors, to attend her TED Talk style showcase at her Fembots factory. Each Fembot has her own personality and skill set, but the investors think they're too pretty to do serious work at a tech startup pace until Fembot 2.024 calls them retro and that their behavior is so 2010. Feeling shamed, the investors reluctantly hire Dr. Nutmeg's Fembots to build an app that will control the flying cars that the mechanical engineers are designing. They will be in charge of building the app, creating videos that explain the technology to the engineers so the IP becomes embedded in the app software. And then Fembot 4.0 will write ads and copy that is search engine optimized so the right audience and demographic finds the product. Fembot 7.0 creates all these data visualizations for the market so they can charge a fee for this app. And she creates another business model that will charge the Uber conglomerate that will be flying the cars above Washington, D.C. We have 3 or 4 episodes of the Fembots working together at this co-working space and running into various obstacles along the way. Fembot 2.0 has a few kids to manage simultaneously to the startup work and aging parents. Fembot 4.0 is going through a divorce. Fembot 7.0's dog dies. And so through all of this, they pivot hard. Instead of building a flying cars app, they decide to build a personal garbage waste tracker because they believe if humans will be more aware of the garbage they create, they won't consume as hard. For example, buying things at the grocery store that don't have containers, like limiting to avocados, butternut squash, eggplant, and only consuming things in recyclable containers. And this is where I can promote a local Florida sustainable online store. Product placement. The investors find out about this, and they want to fire the Fembots and replace them with a gang of AI robots who are faster, more efficient, and will follow rules and directions because they're motivated by money, and they don't need to be in charge or create the ideas on their own. This makes Dr. Nutmeg want to reprogram the Fembots to follow the rules so they can compete. So she does, but as she's doing it, she's feeling conflicted because she's also proud of them for becoming empowered and doing something that they thought is right, which means they've passed the Turing test. By the end, Dr. Nutmeg is no longer feeling lonely because she realizes she has these 3 other fully formed women. She's not in charge of them. They are in charge of themselves, and they can all collaborate together to create this garbage waste app. The end. Doo, doo, doo.